reckon that in the, you know, that big forest on the Belarusian Polish border, the Białowieża or whatever, that things like this kind of damage is actually really important for biodiversity. So say like out there they have wild bison, and say there was a kind of a little, you know, whatever, a little twig or things, and they just feed on it. And by doing so, they strip a line down, and then the tree, in a bid to heal itself, does this. But if you imagine that then in 50 years, it's up there and it's the perfect nesting site for a certain type of very rare tate, or, you know, and it's just, we don't understand some of those complex interactions.
No, you're dead right.
But it's gorgeous to think about.
My name's Dermot McNally from Monaghan town. This forest is in Newbliss, 73 acres, planted in 1996, and I bought it in 2019.
Nice.
My father owned a furniture business, and we made veneered and solid wood for retailers around the UK and Ireland, and that eventually went out of business. I worked in the business. It eventually closed down with cheap imports. At that time I got into property and one or two other things, but I felt that forestry was a good fit. I could do it part-time while running my other business. And because I'd worked with wood, knowing what good wood was and how it was manufactured, so I'm very comfortable with wood, saw the value in wood, enjoyed working in it.
Did you see it at the time? I don't know, was it the same then, that it was an asset that was kind of undervalued? That there was an opportunity in acquiring, you know, land with growing trees on it? Because,
When this forest came up for sale, people wanted to buy the conifer-only aspects, but they totally undervalued the value of the oak plantation here and the ash. They saw it as firewood, they saw it as not worth their while buying and investing. And I did think that with the change and the mood around environmentalism and carbon capture and looking after the planet, that having trees growing would be a good, solid, secure asset for the long run. So on this site there's 38 acres of oak. There was 6 acres of ash which have been cleared and replanted with birch. And there's about 25 of Norway spruce. I've been approved for the continuous cover forest grant here. We have a trail cam here, we could see that wildlife they're here. They're
what are you seeing out of interest?
Well, you've got your squirrels, you've got your pine martens.
Both species of squirrels?
No grey.
Just reds?
Yeah,
Isn't that brilliant now? I personally believe, like you do, that forestry is rewarding, both in terms of from a personal point of view, a kind of a well-being point of view, a lifestyle point of view, but also like that it can be really good for people's, you know, farm enterprise, for the bottom line on their farm. It's an enjoyable thing to be involved in, and it's actually, it can also be profitable to be involved in. So, and the state is having really significant problems encouraging farmers to actually embrace it and say, there's an increasing land opportunity as people draw back from areas of the landscape that are more and more difficult to farm, but they're not actually, they don't seem to be embracing forestry for obvious reasons. There was the ash dieback, there was the licensing. It's probably culturally unfamiliar to a lot of people, but what would you say to landowners who are weighing up their options now? Lease it to the neighbour, sell it, put it into trees. Like, what would your thoughts be to them?
Yeah, I think they should explore the forestry option. It's a good option. It's a great option if you want to keep the land in the family, if you want to keep payments and keep an income coming in for 20 years. I think you have to look at the land, what it will grow, and you have to be realistic about that. And you need good advice. But I think that it would be a mistake not to consider forestry for some or all of your land. The bit I would say to any owner considering that is to get involved with a forest owners group, because they can give you extra insight. I'll give you one example. If Ray, you have 40 acres here and the 10 at the back aren't great and you're thinking maybe I'll plant them, maybe a forest owners group will tell you, well, how are you going to access those 10 acres in 30 years to do some interventions or do some clear fell? So some or all of your land may be planted, but you do need to think very strategically and don't just plant willy-nilly.
Yeah. Because we have that kind of cultural instinct when it comes to farming. Use that field for this and that field, that's how to lay out this farm. We don't really have it for forestry yet, or the pools of knowledge are limited. I think that's a great bit of advice, the knowledge transfer groups. Where do you go for kind of, I suppose, it will exist within the knowledge transfer groups. Where do you go for more technical advisory?
Well, you've got Teagasc, of course, and then you have your professional forestry companies out there. And I think that it's good to be familiar with all of those resources, and that way you can make a balanced decision. I would say that you asked me, should a farmer plant his land? I think a farmer or a landowner should plant, but only if they really are committed to engaging with it. It's not something you can just do and walk away. It takes a level of commitment and understanding, and I think that you're doing yourself an injustice if you don't learn about what you're doing.
And I just don't think a financial injustice. The saddest thing for me of that idea of that the gate closed and I never went back in there is there was enjoyment and satisfaction missed out on. That actually people like you who've kind of engaged, or lots of farmers who've really engaged with their woodlands, come to love managing the woodlands as much as they enjoy managing livestock or growing crops. They get really into the dynamics that play out inside a woodland, but also some of the commercial dynamics, realising an opportunity. I think it's a gorgeous thing to think that, like, when you're asleep at night, you know, this thing is just accumulating.
There's a satisfaction in that.
100%.